Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to Phil's Recap and Review. Better Call Saul, Season 3, Episode 5, Chicanery. And, I mean, this episode could have been subtitled Chuck's Doom, because to me, that's what this episode was all about. It was not even a slow decline, but a very, very steady. It was coming the whole time. You felt it was coming the whole time, and I feel like they did not disappoint me with the conclusion of this episode. Jimmy delivered the blow, set Chuck up, back, an eye for an eye, and is setting him up for, I think, a quick fall. What another episode of Better Call Saul. This one was completely focused on the Jimmy and the Chuck storyline and Kim stuff. I had a lot of fun with this episode. Ren would said it in the live chat a second ago. This hour flew by, and it was all leading up to that final section of the episode, which was just a huge, epic courtroom kind of situation that, in a lot of ways, was not as over the top as you might think it could be. It was just real. Very fucking real. And Jimmy knew exactly what he wanted to get out of Chuck, and Chuck came into it this whole episode, cock of the walk, walking around there, sniffing his own farts through the whole episode.
Hi everybody, I'm sniffing my own farts, my name is Chuck.
Oh, it felt so good when the walls came crumbling down all over Chuck. And before I go any further, I'm not alone. I see with me out of the corner of my side eye, I have some of the best, some of the beautiful, the motherfucking live chat. Motherfucking chat. Great to see Randy, great to see Ren, Timo, Big E. Great to see all of our friends in to talk about this episode right after the episode airs. And anyone who's checking this video out later, thank you so much for checking this out. And please share your thoughts of Better Call Saul, and if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button. But, okay, I've been doing this a little while. I'm no expert here, but I do have to say this right off speaking of sniffing my own farts, this was an episode where Chuck sniffed his own farts. So, in honor of Chuck, I need to do minor fart sniffing right here that I didn't call the whole thing, but last week I did say that I thought the bingo, was bringing Rebecca in. And how Chuck reacted in the moment wasn't necessarily how I thought it was all going to go down, but it was even better than I imagined. But I'm glad that they did bring Rebecca into it. Right when we saw her in the first scene, I was like, oh shit, okay, I'm a little right here. But that was a great move by Jimmy. Also, we're introduced to another Breaking Bad character, someone that maybe I'm a little too excited to see, but I was so happy to see him. It looks like the actor, it looks like Huel really gained some weight in a couple of years between this point when Breaking Bad started. He got a lot bigger. So I think just for a casting standpoint or from acting standpoint, I think it's awesome that the actor that plays Huel is thinner now. So it looks like he just gained weight. So he actually does look kind of younger than he did when he was on Breaking Bad. It almost fucking works. But way to go. We saw frickin' Huel. Holy shit. Huel plays a great part. We get to see the foundation of the whole thing where we hear Saul in Breaking Bad say that Huel is an excellent pickpocketer and can do things really quick. We get to see the first time we see that more and more of the Saul Goodman team is being put together. We got Francesca this season. Now we see Huel now, and I bet if they can get him, Bill Burr's character, what was his name? Not Putty. What the hell was his name? Someone will know watching this video. So it'll be interesting to see how quickly we start to, now that we're seeing all these pieces get into place. And also, where this season is necessarily going to go from here. I think it's going to go to some dark places. No Mike, no Gus, no more of that in this episode as we kind of speculated. But wow, I had a lot of fun in this episode. For as much as I am enjoying the Gus and the Mike stuff, and I know some people watch it for that, some people watch for the combination of both, I've really been feeling the Jimmy and the Kim and the Chuck interdynamic and all that stuff that's going on. And this episode was like a wet dream for that stuff. And some of it went over my head. Some of it was very procedural. And if I knew more about courtrooms, I'd even probably be more fucking into it. But great stuff. Let's go to the live motherfucking chat. I was right there with you, Phil. I was like, oh my God, so happy to see fucking Huel. Chuck being a prick. Kaboom, tons of Easter eggs laying down the pipe. Hey, Critch, great to see you in the live motherfucking chat. And yes, that's right. If you guys want to get into the discussion tonight, we have a voicemail line open. In fact, anytime you're listening to this, in fact, anytime you're out drinking with your friends and going crazy, or completely sober sitting at home doing nothing, sipping tea and lemon, please use the Issues Guy hotline. Call it, bitch at it, talk to it. It helps. And if you want to call in tonight, it's 781-990-8509. 781-990-8509. Please join us, and please subscribe for all the rest of this season of Better Call Saul coverage. Could you stop? Sorry, my cat is scratching on the door, forcing me to get up, and I'm not wearing pants. And I don't want to get up. That'd be messy. Mike's storyline is still my favorite of this show, says Timo. I love the Mike storyline. I love everything in the show. I think I'm a little bit more personally invested in the Jimmy and Chuck storyline just because of how personally relatable it is, and I feel like it's the new stuff there. The Breaking Bad of it all, it fills me with so much joy in so many levels, and it's not even about, it's about two different places, like fucking Pizzeria Regina makes a fucking amazing pizza, and so does fucking Santarpio's. Both those places are fucking delicious, and I want to eat one of them on a Tuesday, one of them on a Thursday. And I could watch these both as separate shows and enjoy both of them, but the fact that we have both of them in the same show, and when they work together, like the Mike and the Jimmy stuff together, is when I think it's the ultimate symphony of it all. I think both storylines are great, but once we start to get those pieces together, it's like you hear the harps. It's like you see in love movies when people make eye contact. It's like, la, 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 la. When Mike and Jimmy are in the scene together, I start seeing stars and love and happiness and all that sort of stuff. So that's where I'm at with the fucking show. Just let Betty in. Okay, you're right. I just have to let Betty in. So, everybody, thank you so much for joining me for this episode of the Better Call Saul recap. I will be back in 1 second. Okay, enough of that crappy music. So here we are back in. So great episode. Chicanery, the title of the episode, is the use of trickery to achieve a political or financial, or for political, financial, or legal purpose. Okay, that's fair. And I like how we'll have to see towards the end, but I like how the episode titles are a little bit more standard for this season in some way, which is interesting. Just they're taking, one was Vince Gilligan's mother's name, one was just a term used to describe it, and the last two have been just terms used once in the episode. I kind of like that. They're more unique, knowing the way people figured out the Gus is back or Fring is back thing. It would make sense that they're doing nothing with it. It's just, okay, they figured out that title thing. We can't do that thing again. Let's just have some fun. I think they kind of said as much in the Better Call Saul Insiders podcast. Ultimately, yeah, this year, you just picked your mother's name, but who knows? Lying bastards. Lying fucking bastards. Is Betty feeling better? Just let her in. Who cares if you have no pants on? Betty is feeling better. It was a big fucking cut on his ear that one of the other cats freaking condescended to him. Was a big chuck to Betty, and Betty eventually just jimmied out on that cat and let him have it. Jimmy looks so sad at the end. He did cardio ski because I think it ultimately comes down to what Jimmy said to Chuck one of the times that he came in. For this, you ruined our family. You ruined our fucking family. Holy shit, Timo! Timo, you were the first one. Look, you get on the screen. Timo donated through Super Chat. $10 donation for Timo. So, Timo, I have to spin the wheel. Timo gets the first spin of the wheel. And also, Timo, we'll talk about this later, but as a supporter on Patreon, you get like 3 or 4. We had to figure out a number, but you get a bunch of free spins anyway. So, okay, the temporary things are on the list right now, but we'll see where it gets down. Chuck is losing this fight. Ultimately, through this episode, we know that this is going to end badly for Chuck through this whole episode. Timo was saying that during the live episode. This isn't going to end good. Chuck's not going to win this one. I don't think he's going to win much of anything anymore. Here we go. I know you can see the super chats on the screen there. We got a little dancing Joe up in the corner for the donation. Yeah, that was Joe. I got it set up now that we get anytime we can get a subscriber or we can get any super chat donations or regular donations and stuff. It should flash up in the corner. And say your name, and then we get the wheel of issues. Fucking A, what's it gonna end up? No. Oh no! Did it really land on that? Holy shit, Timo. Holy shit. I don't even want to tell you what that landed on, Timo. I gotta make a note of that. So everyone, again, thank you so much for the support, especially to Timo, who's one of our biggest supporters. Your love means so much. Thank you. So, one episode of... Okay. Here it is, everybody. You have free spins. So what it landed on, I don't even want to tell you what that shit just landed on. The Joe graphic was hilarious. Thank you. That way Joe is always in the screen somewhere. The wheel landed on must watch one episode of Fear the Walking Dead and review it. So, looks like we're reviewing the premiere. Fuck you. I love you, Timo. No more spins. We don't want it landing on that. So, looks like or at least I'm reviewing. Joe isn't on this podcast. I have to do it alone, I guess. I'll make Joe come with me. So, anyways, so we get this whole episode was basically building up Chuck. And everybody, if you're watching this later, you want to join the fun, please make sure you subscribe to the Issues Guide channel and get notifications when we go live, so you can join us live and join in the fun with the live motherfucking chat. But you can also read on the screen if you want and keep into the action and share your thoughts in the comment section below. Thank you to all the love. So, huge intro all about Rebecca and how Chuck has no one to lean on other than truly Jimmy, and how Jimmy wants to help from the go, and he fucking he loves Chuck. And I love the visual and sound effects that they use when they show you it. They used it in the copy shop place the other episode last season, I believe it was, where they kind of do this weird flash with Chuck as he's getting affected by it. It just saturates you in the empathy for Chuck's situation. I don't feel bad for Chuck, even though at a certain point in time this episode I almost did, but I just mean how it bathes you in feeling what Chuck feels. It's one of those things that they do expressively well that another show could do it and it could be silly, but for me it works extremely, extremely well when they get inside Chuck's mind and you start seeing him feel his effects to the electromagnetic waves and shit, and he sees everything flashes and goes into like a B horror movie kind of look, something out of what Vince did on the X-Files or something. It just gets weird for a second, and I love that they go there. Joe has to be there for the review. Fucking yes. Sorry for no distractions. Do not distractions. And yes, there is a little bit of a rant. I think this is the end for Chuck. Will he be kicked out of the bar? I don't think he'll be kicked out of the bar, but I think people will start treating him the way that he doesn't necessarily want to be treated. When you have something wrong and you're going through a tragedy and you're dealing with some post-traumatic kind of stuff, it's this weird balance of wanting people to treat you differently, but not wanting them to treat you differently. But you want them to be aware of what's going on, but not aware. And someone like Chuck has a lot of fucking pride. So I could definitely see this just kind of destroying him. And Howard's already looking down on him throughout the episode, so I think it's just going to enhance that kind of separation he has from the reality that is his life of the law. And yes, we got the little notifications things going up in the corner. Like I said, when we have a subscription, when anyone donates or anything like that, someone unsubscribe and subscribe, see if it works. Chuck needs to die, or I think Joe said it last week, the ultimate payment for him would be to ultimately be kind of like institutionalized and not really have a choice and be in that situation where Jimmy said, you're going to be lying in the machine, an MRI machine, and telling people you're not crazy and no one's going to be there to defend your rights, to be there for you, Chuck. And again, I don't feel bad for him, but his ego went too far with all of this, straight from the point where they're being nice to him for the courtroom, so he just takes advantage of it. Or with the DA last week who was catering to his needs, but he had to put, yes, this is adequate, but I do appreciate it. He's just one of those guys that just never can make things easy, never can not needle you. And it gets annoying. It's okay to be fucking needled sometimes, to have people keep you on point, people to keep you honest, make sure you don't fuck shit up. That's really good to have, especially certain people work better having those kind of people in their lives. People that motivate you, people that are more organized to push artistic people to fucking do what you're gonna do. Sometimes I need someone to go, Phil, just do a fucking stream. Just get on there. What the fuck are you doing? Oh, you did it. It works because of the chat delay. It takes a few seconds to happen. Oh, awesome. Awesome. I actually like Howard a lot this episode. I've been liking Howard more and more this season. There is more of a delay when I'm doing these alone casts through the OBS. And again, if there's any technical difficulties with these kind of streams, I think I've worked out a lot of the quirks, and now I get to add some of these extra features and stuff. That's kind of fun. But thank you everybody for helping me through the fucking process. Chuck needs to be disbarred. Chuck needs to be sent out to pasture. And I think that would even be worse than disbarred. If they just go, yeah, you can keep that license, but you can't actually do the work. Ultimately, he gets to keep it as a badge of honor for the time he spent, like keeping an old sheriff in the West that's lost all ability to shoot, lost his hands or something like that. You keep him there because he's worked for years in that position, but ultimately he won't do anything. He's just going to be alone. Do it again. I want to see the dancing. Chuck needs to be forced to watch Fear the Walking Dead. The loss of respect will be the worst. Best revenge for Jimmy. And thank you. I love playing with these things. I think it should be Tyrion for the subscription or something, maybe. Or Link dancing around. So, okay. So, fucking Huel, he shows up and sets Chuck up, perfect pickpocket kind of situation, or I don't know. We know how good he is at this from Breaking Bad. It gets mentioned a bunch. I said that before. It's really good to be able to see Huel again. We talked about this from maybe episode 1 in the recap that I was doing for that, which is like one of my only videos that ever got taken down. But I remember even saying in that, I think Huel was a character that was one of those obvious ones that was going to show up. And I think he probably would have been more of a part of the show if it was that comedy half-an-hour show in the Saul Goodman office, different person of the week coming in every week. And I think as we get closer to that point of the Saul Goodman, and we listen to the preview of next week, which I only heard out of the corner of the back of my ear, and I heard Kim say, Saul Goodman? So I think we're stepping to that direction very quickly. A couple people in the comment section speculated this, and I tend to agree. I think this show is probably not going to be more than 5 seasons. And next year will be kind of full Saul and Mike working together leading up to things, and maybe one last season of, I don't know. I don't see this. I could see next season being this show's last season. I hope it's not, but I'd be excited to see what Vincent Peters' next projects are. And I want this show to go as long as the narrative that they want to tell, but it seems like things are progressing a lot quicker this season. And how much can they do? How much story is there before the story? And maybe one season of Saul Goodman doing it like a throw to that comedy thing. But if they're taking all this time and giving us all this stuff, once the Chuck storyline's done, do we put Jimmy and Mike interacting in the criminal world all together, and then it's a different show for the last couple of seasons, which is more based around the Mike storyline? Because I just see the Chuck storyline ending this season. That culminating, Michael McKean not being on the show after this season is where I see this coming. Part of it is spoiler alert if you don't want to hear it, Micah McKeon saying a couple of times, don't get too attached to Chuck in interviews, but that could be misdirection. Who knows? I just see, if they keep this trajectory, Chuck is going to end up dead or in a fucking asylum by the end of the season, and that storyline is going to be done. Then I guess they could interact. They could have the Kim getting lots of worth Mesa Verde, and then her losing Jimmy. But I even think by the end of this season, she's going to be done with Jimmy to a certain extent, or at least trying to separate herself from him to a certain point. So it's just going to be interesting to see how the rest of this show lays out. They can do a spin-off. I think maybe eventually, but I think this would probably be the last project in the Breaking Bad universe that these guys are going to do. They joke about that sometimes in their podcast about, yeah, we're going to do the friggin' Walt Jr. storyline or something. You know, they joke about shit like that. Try again in a little while, Iron. I can't wait to see it. What's Chris? Chuck needs to live under a Better Call Saul roadside. He needs to live by a sign down by the river. Great advert for Twin Peaks, refers to Game of Thrones, Mad Men, Breaking Bad, Lost, etc. I'm gonna might as well do this now, or I don't have it in front of me. I'll do it on the next podcast. But I listened to this we have a free Audible trial you can find in the description box below. Audible trial /issues, where you can get 2 free audiobooks, and then you can cancel and you get to keep the 2 free audiobooks. I was doing it for a different channel's stuff. Go King McKay, and ultimately. One of the books I got was it's a book about the creators of, it's like the Sopranos creators to the Breaking Bad creators, and talks all about this age of television, and talks about all the different show creators, the dude from The Wire, a lot about David Chase, a lot about Vince Gilligan, and this one chapter dedicated to Vince Gilligan and Breaking Bad and all that stuff. It's really cool, and if anyone's into Audible and audiobooks, I highly suggest it. I'll try to put the name of the book or a link to the book in the description box of this video. I'm going to try to put a note for myself of that. Leave a fucking... put a note for myself to do that. And so yeah, I cannot recommend that. I cannot recommend that book enough. It gets real into depth about how a lot of people work, especially like I said, the Sopranos. But sorry, write myself a note. Leave link audiobook. But yeah, very good book. If you're into television, you want to listen to audiobooks and want to hear a little bit more about how Vince Gilligan works and his team works from an outside perspective. And they talk a lot about how they come to some storyline decisions in Breaking Bad and stuff. And you hear a process of a couple of decisions being made. It's a really good book. So we need a Mike show. And then the last season is what happened to Breaking Bad in the world of Cinnabon world. I could see a lot more of the Cinnabon world. I think I said it last season and I was wrong, and maybe I'm going to be wrong again. I don't see them having a whole season without bringing that back to some extent. But I thought that last season too. I thought they were going to bring it back, and they ultimately didn't. It was just at the beginning. But with the passing out thing, it seems like that is begging for a bookend at this season with the Gene. Cinnabon Saul Gene stuff. That's okay, Timo. What about a Where's Jesse Now show? Jesse's driving. That's where Jesse is. He's still in his car. So Jimmy went into full Saul mode in this episode, bringing Rebecca in. Just didn't care. I love the line that Chuck has that could be a T-shirt with Joe's picture on it, with that Joe that comes up on the screen when people super chat donate, not complaining, observing. Would I rather know I'm a raging prick than understand the truth? I know I'm a raging prick, and I'd rather people know that than understand the truth of the pain that's going on inside of me. Let people know think I'm a raging prick. I'd rather it. It's something I feel comfortable with. I like people thinking I'm a raging prick. It makes me feel comfortable. But yeah, I'll definitely leave the link to that book in the audio section below. I'm gonna start doing something that I thought about doing, but not have a pad of paper and a fucking pen next to me, so I can so things I say, I'm gonna do this during a show, and I'm fucking never remember anything. I'm gonna actually keep that stuff written down. Hey, Al Red Sox fan, great to see you in the live chat. Great to see you, my friend. Okay, so bigger lie, harder to dig out, Jimmy says about Chuck's lie. Okay, so let's get into it here. Let's not waste any more time with this fucking foreplay. And I need a sandwich. So let's get into this. Recap! Okay, here we go. Let's get into this recap. Lots of Romulans everywhere. Okay, let's get into this recap. So we open up in this episode. Boom, just sitting. Let me get my little audio thing here. So we open up in this episode with a machine sound. It's a lawnmower. Someone's cutting the lawn at good old Chuck's house. Chuck and Jimmy are there. He walks inside. He's on the phone, and they're moving Chuck in. And they're kind of obviously from the very beginning hiding the electrical thing.
I think it'll work.
Jimmy running everything.
Excellent. Thank you for being so careful.
This is right around the time that Chuck got a divorce.
For what?
Oh, the hookup.
Oh, no, that's all right. Don't bother.
It won't take 20 minutes. Plus, you really can't use it if I don't do it.
No, it's all right. We're not gonna. When you're done here, would you get some more lamps in the garage?
Thanks.
So, you got a phone, the yard's half mowed, the sockets and stuff.
So we learn in this scene that Chuck had just got a divorce, but ultimately it leads up to Rebecca's coming for dinner. She's in town. Jimmy still talks to her. They seem to have a relationship, and he's gonna make some dinner. It looks yummy. Chuck's there, and we see in a little montage moment that Chuck can really cook, or at least his hands. The hands that they got to play Michael McKean can really cook. And the stunt cock hands can really cook. He tastes some food. He sips some booze. He hears people coming and laughing. And it is Rebecca. And at this moment, I go, ha, I'm right. Rebecca's here.
Rebecca.
Chuck.
You look lovely.
Oh, it's so good to see you.
Hey, what's with the candles?
Now, Chuck makes some excuses that the power is going out, and him and Jimmy do a little setup that they already worked out. Again, Chuck doesn't have to go too far for all this deception, all this stage antics that he puts on. It's his whole life, faking it and putting this act on that he's okay when he's not really okay. We hear how important numbers are always to Chuck.
1-5.
Exactly. They say they'll have it on again by tomorrow. In the meantime, I borrowed some camping gear from my neighbors.
Yeah, that food looked freaking yummy as hell. So Chuck makes excuses about the power going up. He makes up some story. Rebecca's just Jimmy says, listen, he's playing the calm with him, not to tell him the electrical stuff. He plays his part well, and he says, let's just camp out. Jimmy's like, let's not go out to a restaurant. Maybe we could go out to a restaurant. Let's not go out to a restaurant. Let's just hang out here, camp out for some food. It'll be fun. So they eventually get in and they have some dinner, and it's fucking delicious.
The Galloping Gourmet.
Oh, it's fucking delicious. And it's a really cool camera angle watching them as Chuck, Rebecca, and Jimmy, they taste the dishes. Jimmy leaves the room and kind of leaves them together. Chuck and Rebecca talk. Jimmy had just become a lawyer. They kind of go back and forth about it, making fun of Jimmy a little bit, but going, did you ever think he'd become a lawyer? Oh, that's really awesome. They shoot the shit. She does travel tours, goes to Central Europe, lots of hotels. She's going to go to Asia pretty soon. And Chuck is trying to listen, but being kind of condescending about it. And this is where he goes, oh, you're not, when she's kind of complaining about what she's doing, being like, I wish I still had a home to kind of live in. And he's being very nice, a little condescending, but nice, and says, you're not complaining, you're just observing.
I would have thought you'd...
So it's okay for Chuck to work with Jimmy to con Rebecca, but when Jimmy does any con, he should be disbarred. Shake my head on Chuck.
It's good.
Fuck Chuck.
Far East this fall. China, South Korea, and Vietnam.
So she's going all over the place.
Exciting. And then after Santa Fe this week...
Wow. Think about all the shots she must have to take. Ooh, poor girl.
Well, it's a lot of hotels.
So Chuck and Rebecca talk. Jimmy just became the lawyer, as I said. Jimmy's watching for the whole thing and seemed happy that this worked and that they're getting along. Chuck's catching up, and then all of a sudden in this scene, things go bad.
Did you finally get to see?
A phone rings.
Hi, Andre.
And he answers the phone. Then the music gets weird.
Well, I can do that at rehearsal, yeah.
The music gets really crazy.
Yeah. No, I know that they're coming in late.
Is it raining?
Yeah.
Is it pouring?
I will make sure.
Is a hurricane blowing?
Hold on a second, let me just get a pen.
The piper must be piping because the electric keeps on buzzing. And the buzzing keeps on screaming! No, Rebecca! Shit gets weird, okay?
Well, do you want me to rehearse the cello separately?
And Chuck starts running around the house, tripping out, grabbing the phone, and eventually just grabs the phone and he throws it.
No, it's not just him, it's the whole set.
She's like, what's your problem? What the hell is your problem, Jimmy? I mean, Jimmy. Yeah, what the hell? And Chuck, again,
Andre?
spins this.
I'll have to call you back.
He just acts like a prick here. His response is, it's bad manners.
Say something.
It's rude.
It is incredibly bad manners to answer a cell phone in company. It's very rude.
I'm sorry. I didn't know that you felt that way. I didn't mean to offend you, Chuck.
I may have overreacted. That was very abrupt.
No, I understand.
Yeah, sorry to those listening in headphones.
It's getting late. Thank you for a lovely dinner, but I should be getting back to the hotel.
So she immediately changed it around. She's just like, okay, I'm glad that you're sorry, just thinking that Chuck's just being a prick. Never once for a second thinks about it. And then he says, Chuck, what's your problem? Say something. Chuck says bad manners, answer the phone. And then we come back in after that, and Jimmy's like, just tell her. She'll understand. She'll understand what you're going through. Explain the situation. If it's real, explain to it. But I think somewhere on a deep level, Chuck knows that this isn't real. Maybe he doesn't know. Maybe it's subconscious somewhere that he knows that it's actually inside his mind, that he's feeling these feelings. But so he doesn't want her to know because he feels like he'd feel bad with her feeling bad for him, or maybe he just wants her to think he has this like tough guise of some sort. Either way, it's a stupid move by him. She would have probably been understanding, but I guess it's better to be the breakup-er than the breakup-y, and by being an asshole and saying things are mutually exclusive, you're saving yourself from that point where she goes, you're just too much and I can't handle you in this situation anymore, and which feels even worse to you, even if you believe what you're going through. Like if someone tries and goes, okay, I'll try, you have this problem, I don't care, I love you so much, I'll try to deal with this problem. And then after like a couple of years of dealing with the problem, they go, this problem's fucking crazy and I don't want to deal with you. And I can't deal with this anymore. I used to love you, but I don't love this person you are now. That's worse than just saying, hey, this isn't working, you have your life, I have my life, or her going, you're being a prick. Well, I am a prick. That's who I am. Maybe we shouldn't be married. Which is probably ultimately what Chuck said. I would have kicked his ass for throwing my phone. So if Chuck had lung cancer, he would have told her. Yep. He would have. Because even he knows what he has isn't real enough. And he wouldn't have cooked meth, that's for sure. So we come back in on a Fish and Jimmy sitting in the vet's place where we've seen Mike before. We see a girl looking at a cat book, smiling at him, and a guy stroking his lizard. You know, I enjoy so much sitting and talking about this show because I can talk about shit like this. Yep, there's a girl stroking her lizard with a guy stroking the lizard while a girl looks at a book of pussy, and Saul sits there with Fish. I like that he was indecisive on whether he should wear the ring or not. I like that as well, too. And I like how much that scene showed how much he's relying on Jimmy to help him make decisions in that point. And how much he is aware that, obviously, that Rebecca likes Jimmy. I think we get into this later in the episode, and I'm going to play the lines, and we're going to get into what Chuck says. But Chuck seems to have always had this problem with Jimmy, considering that he was his parents' favorite and he felt like Jimmy was stealing. But I think when Jimmy kind of crossed into his world post this point, and as the world started closing in on Chuck, as he started to close in on his world and close off everybody else, when you isolate yourself, when you put yourself in that position where you lock yourself into a room, you become hyper vigilant on the things that you can control, even more so. So I think it's mutated. His hatred for Jimmy has mutated over time and keeps building and building and building. And maybe at this point in time, he knew he had to be more reliant on him, and he still had an affinity for Jimmy because Jimmy had just worked really hard to become a lawyer and maybe finally is sort of getting it in his mind. But I think ultimately the more and more Jimmy entered his world and was just being himself, a charming person, Chuck is I don't even know how to describe it. He's just a magnet. He's a vacuum of everything needs to be his way. A control magnet, an egocentric magnet, a narcissistic magnet. All those things are very accurate to describe him. I like that she was reading a cat mag, but brought her dog to the vet. I totally missed that, Red. I had my head down a lot taking notes throughout the episode, so I think I missed certain things here and there. So we also get some really funny lines. I almost want to play. I'm going to play this whole section because it's just funny listening to the vet talk. He's got a good way about gives great line delivery, and hearing him and Odenkirk work together, because hearing this guy with Mike was cool, and I think when we first saw him together we said, oh, he's got a little bit of Jimmy to him, the way he talks and stuff, and I like this whole interaction that they have here.
Oxygen in that bag, you're suffocating her. In that bag, you're suffocating her. Yeah, just because you don't see swinging dicks doesn't mean you can't tell a boy fish from a girl fish.
Oh, yes.
Just ask Grey Worm and Varys.
This is a living creature. It's not a piece of furniture. So after this, you take her home, you put her in a big bowl, at least a gallon. Get a good bubbler, maybe a Placostomus, and don't feed her too much. People get fat. Fish, they drown in leftover food.
All right, already, Jacques Cousteau. Point made.
Good.
These two just work together so well. I hope we get lots more scenes with the two of them.
I'm guessing our friend didn't refer you to me to get ichthyological advice.
I'm looking for someone with a light touch. I'm not talking some teenager taking a five-finger discount of string cheese at the Stop and Shop. I need highly skilled,
now,
high-end.
the Saul Goodman excellent dialogue aside, I didn't even for a second in this moment think about Huel. I'll be honest. I'm not gonna be like I was prophetic with this one. I got the Rebecca thing right. I'm not gonna take advantage. I knew it. Once I heard him talking about pickpocketing. I knew her light hands. I knew it was gonna be a Huel. I had no fucking clue. That kid, Huel blindsided me. I was like, is that? I saw him walk by, and the actor himself, I mentioned this at the beginning, lost a lot of weight, so he doesn't look exactly the same. So I took a double take. I was like, wait, is that? Holy shit, it's Huel. And then suddenly, no shit, I freaked out. I was like, holy shit, is that fucking Huel? It's Huel. Huel! Woo! I got very excited that it was Huel. And he just that image, I think, for when I started doing this channel, and Breaking Bad was the first thing, that final season of Breaking Bad was the final back half. Season 5B was the first stuff that we podcast on this channel. Or, like I said many times, we're actually podcasting somewhere else and then uploading it. But those episodes were very iconic for me in Breaking Bad. I know the best Breaking Bad was probably, season. So many. I mean, that's a different video that I can get into my Breaking Bad season rankings. But I'm not saying the last season was the best, but there was a lot of great stuff that happened in that season. And one of the iconic images of all Breaking Bad is seeing Huel lay on top of that money. It just was so awesome. And his relaxed attitude to the whole situation, and then getting manipulated and wondering what happens to Huel at the end, in some ways too. I became attached to his character in some level. So it was great to see him here and see the actor being able to do more and adding more to the character. And I appreciate that. Those little things are the stuff that I like that this show exists. And I think spin-offs and prequels and shit like that, these are everything that Better Call Saul is doing right is why these things exist and how they can be done. And it makes me want to look back to everything else that's a prequel and judge it even more harshly, because sometimes I always thought prequelitis, it was the prequel thing that was the problem. That it was a problem that I knew where these characters were going to be, so it interrupted with me caring about the events and feeling like things don't have stakes. But I don't think that's the case anymore. I think it's how it's done. How these things happen. If they're, hi, I'm Phil. Later, I'm going to recap Game of Thrones. I'll see you soon. Or if it's just more natural the way they do it. I can't exactly put it into words. I have to think about this, of what makes a prequel work. Maybe it's something, again, it's a separate video. What makes a prequel work? What makes prequel work? So yeah, maybe that's a separate video. And a Breaking Bad stuff. More Breaking Bad content. So it's just an interesting thing, because I again could make an argument that this is the best prequel thing ever. And I'm not being hyperbolic. It is might be my very favorite prequel thing ever in this fucking planet. The Wheel of Time. The Wheel of Issues. Thank you to everyone for joining in tonight on this Monday night, late night. Appreciate all you guys sticking around and jumping in the live motherfucking chat. And anyone that's come in, pushed out, and repeated over and over again. I hope you're having an even more fun night than me. But that's impossible. I get to talk to you. So then we go into the court, and Kim looks miserable as she goes into talk to her clients. This is a big lead up. I'm just going to kind of yada this, but I think it's going to lead to be important later. She did a good job by all accounts. Mesa Verde is happy, whole lot of work, everything is great, but Kim seems unhappy. She tells the clients about the problems with Jimmy and about Chuck, and the way she voices it and sets it up is more just kind of to lead them more down the road to hate Chuck. Except the woman doesn't buy it, as I forget her name, doesn't buy it quite as much, and she's like, Kim, is everything gonna be all right? Excuse me. And Kim says, yeah, everything's gonna be all right. And they're gonna go out to dinner, they're gonna back Kim up, they're gonna stick with her. Everything's gonna be good. Kim's gonna get a lot more work, and they're gonna badmouth HHM around. Win-win-win. Kim's probably gonna get more business because of these people. They're on their side. But there was some lingering shit in this scene. I can't quite put my finger on it, but the fact that we lingered with the woman from Mesa Verde, and she kind of said to Kim, is everything going to be all right? And kind of gave her the once up, the Curb Your Enthusiasm, bum, 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 eye thing to kind of make sure she was on the level. I sniffed there was some sniffy stuff in there. And I don't know if that's going to lead to something else later. Kind of like the Kettlemans a couple seasons ago. It just seemed like there was hinky enough shit that, and these Mesa Verde people keep coming back. So I think they have more business to do somehow. Jordan, everybody. Jordan, you are fucking in the live motherfucking chat. Welcome to the live motherfucking chat. Jordan, I want to toast to you. I'm not quite drunk, but I'm definitely on the lower end of buzzed. If I have to spin that wheel one more time and it landed on a shot, I'd be drunk. But toast to you, my friend. Thank you for jumping in the live chat. You do not have to be apologizing. You do not have to be apology. I think that's what I was about to say. So obviously, you don't have to be apology. The show feels like it is just Breaking Bad, focusing on different characters, but it sticks to the true original feel. A lot of prequels change what made the original great. I agree with that, Josh. And also, they know when to go back to that well. There's certain shooting styles that they used in Breaking Bad that they don't use on this show. There's some new camera that they've used that's changed with the lighting and stuff, so they can light things differently. And they've been doing a lot more fun stuff in low light in this show. And that's why everything kind of looks interesting. But in the last episode, just to go back to episode 3 for a second, this was episode 4, right? So to go back to the last episode for a second, they, in the opening segment, in the flashback to Don Eladio's place, they filmed that in the old Breaking Bad style, they said, and kind of like with more handheld cameras and a little bit more grunty. But the show itself, you could just tell, to go on what you were saying, it feels like it's from the same people. I say this comparison a lot. It feels like the same cook is cooking you the same Italian meal. There's just, instead of getting fucking fettuccine primavera, you're getting cavatelli rigatoni or some crap like that. And both are fucking delicious in different ways. And maybe the cavatelli is a little bit brighter and makes you feel a little bit good, and there's not this kind of dark energy to it, which Breaking Bad just kills it in the dark energy. Breaking Bad's still in my top 2 or 3 favorite shows of all time. But it's hard for me to not think that this show is just as competent, if not more competent, at what it's trying to accomplish, because I feel like the team is better at what they do. They're more refined in their skills. So the show comes off even more kind of just refined in what they're trying to do. And Bob Odenkirk, not that it's just great to someone like Bob Odenkirk, to see him blossom as an actor. Whereas I just didn't expect this from him, so he's constantly surprising me. And having Mike on your side doesn't hurt either. Did I wash my hair tonight? I did, actually. Shampooed. I didn't wash it, but I did take a shower today. I like to smell good. When I go to hippie shows and I'm around all the hippies, that I fit in, but they go, dude, like, what's so special about you, dude? What's this, like, aura that's coming off you? It's like baby powder or something. I go, it's a fucking shower, hippie. Bathe. Saul is mostly the Breaking Bad crew. It's almost exactly the Breaking Bad crew. It's pretty much everybody that worked on Breaking Bad. And all the directors, different directors that worked on different episodes, they all come through. The same editors, some of the same camera people, some new people that come in, but ultimately it's the same core team that works the same way, same writing team that comes in to do episodes. So it's the same energy in the room going on, in the same way that they discover what's going on. They don't necessarily, they have kind of endpoints, but then they don't have set plot points that they want to get. They discuss what makes sense. They're in the room, they sit in a room and they argue about it, and they go, well, does that make sense? What would this person do? What would Saul do in this situation? How would he really get Chuck? And they kind of like go, oh, this is what he'd do. And they wrap it around. How would Mike do this? Rag says, this episode was hands down the best episode so far. Kim says this may jeopardize her keeping the bank as her client when they hear about what Jimmy says on tape. It might. And that's why I think she was trying to set up the best episode of Better Call Saul ever, even better than season 2, episode 9. I think this season is just at such a crazy epic pace. This episode, I don't know. It depends. I think last week's episode and this week's episode both are incredible in different ways, depending on which storyline you want to be such a big fan on them. I think for the Chuck, if you're invested so hard in the Chuck and Jimmy stuff, like I am, like that's my favorite storyline in the show, I could definitely see the argument for this being the best, one of the best episodes of the show. But I feel like I'm coming out here every week saying this is the best episode of Better Call Saul. Except for the premiere. I agree that the premiere was a little weak, like Big J was saying, and a couple other people were saying. Not weak, but comparatively to the rest of Better Call Saul, it was kind of setting things in motion. And what usually the openings of Better Call Saul just feel like another episode in flow. This definitely felt like it was setting the pieces in motion for the downhill trajectory of this particular season. Writers, definitely, Jordan, if you haven't already, right now on iTunes, fuck my podcast, check out the Better Call Saul Insiders podcast. It's all the dudes, the writers and the editors and the showrunners from Better Call Saul all talking about putting the episodes. Usually the podcast comes out the day after the episode airs, and it's really cool getting to listen to it all. And I think I talked about it. I talked about it more last year than I talked about my own podcast, but I cannot promote that podcast enough. I'm hoping if I do it enough, eventually Vince Gilligan will want to come on this show and do one of these recaps with me. Hey, a boy can dream. But no, seriously, check that out. It's a lot of fun. It's actually really funny too. They're funny guys and gals, and they put on a lot. Kelly Dixon hosts it, and she's an excellent podcasting host, and good shit going on there. Kim says Saul Goodman in the teaser for next week's episode. I feel like season 4 may be the last if they keep this pace. Josh, it's funny you say that because I literally said almost the same thing probably like 20 minutes ago or so. I agree with you. It seems like this season, people keep saying this show is slow. First 2 seasons were slow. A lot of world building. Similar to a lot of shows that do things like that. Almost like a Star Trek show where they world build. This season so far is like going downhill. And especially for this show, the pace of the way that they're kind of leading to everything. I think if this was last season, the whole season would have led up to the court case. And then the end of the season would have been Chuck freaking out like that. And that would have ended. Like I could have seen if they did this storyline last season, it would have been the whole season arc. The fact that they did this now in episode 4, right? This was episode 4. Like, it's just fucking incredible to me. There's just so much more to go in this season. They're not even at the halfway point. Like, what the fuck are they going to do in the rest of this fucking season? It's going to be incredible. Al, Red Sox fan, lots of love. Have a good night, my friend. Rag. He really did. Michael McKean, I keep talking about Bob Odenkirk. You look back at Breaking Bad and think about Bryan Cranston, one of the great acting jobs on a television show ever. Aaron Paul's charisma. But in this universe, in these universes of characters, Michael McKean, what a gem of casting. We talk about it a lot, but I could see a couple of other actors maybe doing good versions of this character, but he is just perfect. And I'm so happy because Michael McKean's one of those guys, because some of the other people I'm thinking about are more stars that have had starring roles. Michael McKean, somebody other than Spinal Tap, is usually, and that's an ensemble piece. Excuse me. He's usually a part of an ensemble. He's not usually the guy. And this, he's a part of an ensemble too. But I'm so happy he got this chance, got this character, got to really show what he can do as an actor. Because I'm not saying it's forgotten about, but it's just, I love every minute of it. And maybe because he's one of the few guys that's actually replied to me and have had mild discussions with him back and forth. But he's just a cool guy and really is very open about talking to his fans and talking to people about characterization and getting into everything. And he's fallen in love with this character, and it shows through with the performance. He gives so much care and concern to it. And his performance in this was his episode. As much as I'm going to get into fuck Chuck here at the end as we get down to the home stretch of this episode and how like fucked he is, and this whole episode is about Chuck's ego choking him eventually. Michael McKean in that monologue at the end. Give the man his money. Give the man an award. Give the man Michael McKean, you get a free spin of the wheel. Michael McKean, that's for you, motherfucker. You're fucking awesome. Please don't live on another. Michael McKean got silly hat, so I have to wear a silly hat. Let me put this on. Let me put my Vikings hat on. Michael McKean, this is for you. Silly hat. But yeah, so fucking awesome, Michael McKean. Great stuff. Excellent acting job in that moment. So let's continue in here. So the Mesa Verde situation, everyone did a great job. The wife says it won't be a problem. So then we get a great exit sign thing as we get to Chuck checking out the hearing room and seeing if it passes his test. All the electric stuff, the lights off, exit signs. Howard looks unhappy the whole time and wants to talk. He ultimately says to Chuck in this scene that, listen, maybe you don't even have to be here. You don't have to do this. You don't have to be in the room. It just seems like it's you're pushing yourself a little too much in this situation, Chuck. Why don't you just leave this to the adults and stand? And I like
we can run without lights.
You hear the buzzing
lights.
and stuff.
We'll collect all cell phones and hold them for the duration of your testimony.
The court reporter, would it be possible to move?
Seriously, Rag, give the man a fucking Emmy. He deserves it. He 100% fucking deserves an Emmy for this performance. And not just a nomination. Michael McKean, like, seriously, just give the fucking man an award for supporting actor in a drama series. Like, that, and I'm going to play it at the end in its entirety. Like, fucking incredible. Like, for the cockiness, like, even in this episode where you kind of knew watching it where it was going to go. At this point, we're watching this. Timo said Jimmy is always at their dinners, like he's their child or something. You sure this won't be a problem? Means it's going to be a problem. Yeah, exactly. You just knew that this was all going to be a problem. A fucking problem. It's not going to go good for him. Then our next scene that we get after this whole setup is we get Kim. In the matter of James M. McGill, Kim, we get something that's very interesting. Before I want to play it here, but we get something very cool here that's different because we get a lot of montages on Better Call Saul. This is a montage, but it's a montage monologue. I don't know if I've seen many montage monologues. You see them sometimes in movies, but on a television show like this, it's really cool. No music. It's just dialogue while you see Jimmy and Kim get ready. It's a cool piece of business just from an editing standpoint that I really like the way they did this. And I hope, and I like to see more shows use this device. It was just really cool to me.
Code 16-102. Engaging in conduct the lawyer knows is criminal. Mr. McGill certainly knew that breaking down his brother's door was criminal behavior.
And this leads to this point in time in this episode where this fucking shit gets epic, okay? It gets to the point where we get almost to like the episode of Game of Thrones where Tyrion does his speech at the end in the trial. Like this is, the whole episode is just a downhill roller coaster to the end here. And I almost want to just shut my mouth and just play the audio for the end of this episode because it just gets really freaking incredible. Thank you, Michael McKean. This is for that silly hat was for you, my friend. You got a free spin. Just really cool stuff. Michael McKean win an award. Give Lenny his award. I've said this a couple of times. He's a fucking treasure. Michael McKean's a treasure. When they play the tape, Kim smiles at Jimmy. Aw, see, Phil? Kim still cares about Jimmy. And Jordan, that's so Letty. So we see Kim and Jimmy getting ready as we hear this audio.
16-804. Committing a criminal act that reflects adversely on the lawyer's honesty or trustworthiness as a lawyer.
Doing hippie activities. Doing hippie activities.
As an attorney.
Just want to mention, if any of you guys out there, even just a hello, want to call in, you can definitely do that at 781-990-8509 if you have anything to say. 781-990-8509. Love to listen to any of your voicemails if you want to get your voice in the discussion. If not, I totally understand. You guys are in the live motherfucking chat. That is good enough. But anyone listening to this, and again, if you're listening to this or watching this at any point in time, you can always leave a voicemail about the episode. And if you leave it not during the live show, I'll try to play it. Absolutely try to play it. And 95% unless I forget, and I am a hippie, so sometimes I forget. But I will almost guarantee playing it on the following show. Thought I was doing it on Tuesday. Well, Broke, you're here in time now, motherfucker. Close enough. We got the Broke Black Man BBM. Check out his fucking epic reactions. He's so prolific, reacts to so many stuff, works so hard. So if you haven't already, check out BBM Brook Blackman 94 on YouTube. Good guy, one of the best dudes out there. Joseph says, McKeon's acting reminds me of the Voyager episode, The Thaw, when he plays the emotion fear and incorrectly believes he has outsmarted Janeway by taking her hostage. That's one of the best Voyager episodes, by the way. Here, he believes he has Jimmy. Great comment. And Voyager is one of those shows that comparatively to some of the other Star Treks, it's not on the top list of my favorite Star Treks. But going back, I was on Enchantment of Eternity's channel, Mark, and we were doing a Star Trek video where best episodes of different series and stuff. And I was forced to watch some of the better Voyager episodes, and it made me like and rewatch Voyager with a new appreciation for it, even though some parts of it bother me and some members of the crew bother me. The good episodes are really good, and that was an excellent episode with Michael McKeon. Some of the best work he's done. So great stuff. Great motherfucking stuff. So we see Kim and Jimmy get ready. We see the voiceover, and then we get into our trial. So let's do this. I'm gonna play our trial. Our first is our Kim's opening statement.
Kim Wexler, co-counsel with James McGill for the defense. You've already read Mr. McGill's pre-prosecution statement. We don't dispute he broke into his brother's house, an act he regrets deeply. But there is another side to this story.
Kim is a good lawyer, and Saul Goodman with Kim on her side. When we get to Chuck and Jimmy's situation, Jimmy is unstoppable here. He's almost like, I don't know, he's almost like someone that has like massive fighting skills and then has like the ultimate manager and trainer in his corner too. And he has a superpower aura around him in this scene because he's got his Saul Goodman stuff, his charm, his litigation ability that we've seen in Breaking Bad and on Better Call Saul already. And then he has Kim in his corner in this that's filled in with all the facts to kind of fuck Chuck over from a legal standpoint too. It's why it's so, as Joe would say, so delicious. It really is delicious. So here's our start of our testimonies.
Begin testimony. Mr. Alley, call your witness.
Bang, bang, bang. Then he kicked down the door. Jimmy was very agitated. He was shouting. He demanded Charles turn over the evidence he'd been collecting.
Objection. We haven't established the tape is evidence of anything. The defense has only acknowledged it as a piece of property.
Allow me to rephrase. Jimmy demanded an audio cassette in Charles's possession.
Thank you for the sub, Josh.
With the help of an iron fireplace implement to pry from Charles's desk. He then broke the cassette into pieces and went on to confront.
Do we get a little dancing?
What happened after the defendant smashed this tape?
Mr. Brightville and I...
That's the private investigator that Charles hired?
That's correct. He and I were concerned that Jimmy might strike.
Yeah, Rag. Kim is a great lawyer. Jimmy does have a lot of charm. It's a dangerous combination.
Certainly.
Nothing further at this time.
So this is Hamlin's thing, and then we get Kim and Hamlin.
You testified you've known my client for...
I love how she goes at him, and it's in an amazing way that you would go after your former boss. Like, you don't hold any punches. You're like, fuck you, former boss. You're such a dick. She knows Hamlin. She knows what kind of guy he is. So it's just putty in Kim's hand right here.
I thought he had a lot of get up and go. He was a hard worker.
You had a nickname for him, didn't you?
What was his nickname? Charlie Hustle.
Charlie Hustle. How'd you feel when you found out he'd become a lawyer?
Surprised. He'd put himself through law school and taken the bar exam without telling any of the partners, even Charles.
He bootstrapped his way into a law degree while working in your mailroom. Did you consider taking him on as an associate?
We did. Briefly.
Sounds like you didn't hire him. Why not? With that kind of grit?
The partners decided it would be best to avoid the appearance of nepotism. We felt hiring Jimmy might damage morale.
Nepotism. Your firm is Hamlin, and McGill, right? Who's the other Hamlin?
My father.
Like, what are you, nuts?
Which partner was the most concerned with nepotism?
Idiot.
Charles McGill.
So Jimmy's own brother.
Surprise, 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 motherfucker. So ultimately, this seems to be right away. They're going after the tactic of showing that Chuck hates Jimmy. And it is a way to just kind of make Chuck again feel overconfident. A couple people said, I think Rag said this. A couple other people said this in a few other live streams in the live chat. Chuck is at his weakest when he feels too confident about himself. And again, this is a funny hat for Michael McKeon, who won a spin of the wheel. So Howard and Kim going at it was a lot of fun. I like this, again, this whole court scene. I feel like I want to play this audio for it because I just want to hear this again. And when I'm done with this podcast, I'm going to go watch this episode again. And then when Stephanie gets home tomorrow from Miami, I'm going to watch this episode again. I fucking love this. And these Better Call Saul episodes, I'm watching each episode 3 or 4 times. And that says a lot about it. Again, I don't do that with every show. Game of Thrones I do that with. Absolutely, I watch every episode every week a couple times. Breaking Bad I used to do that with. The Sopranos I used to do that with. Not every show I do that. And that's a credit to how good and how much I like Better Call Saul. Chuck didn't want to hire his brother because Chuck's an asshole. Simple. Ren says, I think Saul says he's been married twice. It'll be interesting to find out if Kim was one of them. He does say that. I wonder how much of that is truth and how much of that is just him talking shit with Walter, and that Saul Goodman at that point would say anything. But it's very, very interesting to see and I'm very curious to see where him and Kim's relationship go from this point, and if she still exists in this world. They've talked about that a little bit here and there and just made joking hints about that, if Kim exists in the Breaking Bad timeline or not. So I'm curious. It is an interesting thought, Ren. Very interesting thought. Oh yeah, great minds think alike. Excuse me, everybody. So Kim and Howard go back, and it's a great back and forth. I could have played it all. Talks all about Jimmy. Why didn't you hire him? Yada yada. Because Chuck's an asshole. But Jimmy did get a job at Davison, Maine. You want to talk about that? I talked about this a lot last week, and I'll say it again. The actress that plays Kim, she's so good. She fucking, the look on her face that she gets when he says that, it's unbelievably awesome. And she just gets, nope. The way she says nope. Oh, Joseph, thank you so much for the subscription. Did something pop up there in the screen? Did we get a little dancing thing yet? We should be getting a little dancing bear or fucking some shit when you subscribe, but either way, thank you for the sub, Joseph. So Kim, then he took care of his brother. He worked hard. Charles' leave of his absence was mental health, right? And then Saul gives Francesca kind of this weird look. Where is somebody? Like where the hell are they? And they argue about playing the tape, and Kim gets blocked again. It basically gets to the tape thing, and we're gonna play the tape. Kim, to stall for time, ultimately knows that they're gonna play the tape. Still kind of
Exhibit 5 into evidence. We asked that
argues about it.
Recording be played.
I'm respectfully renewing my objection that probative.
Okay, I must have just missed it. I wasn't looking at the screen. You did see a dancing Tyrion. Awesome. I just want to make sure that when Joseph subscribed, we got a dancing Tyrion.
Intentions of both parties.
Ms. Wexler, we already ruled this was fair game.
I probably just wasn't looking at the screen at the time.
Yes. I'll add the rough and
I love it.
of your client's conduct aside, we need to know whether one lawyer attempted to tamper.
We can get lots of things. We can get goals and shit like that if we want to donate to a certain thing, like getting us to the convention or some shit like that, or any other kinds of things. So we can get all sorts of other little flashes and shit and little things with Joe dancing on the screen more, and we'll try to get more Joe dancing. So Francesca says the flight's delayed. They're about to play the tape, and Jimmy asks again for a moment to review. They're kind of stalling again, and we eventually go over to Chuck, who is at his house practicing his testimony. What a fucking prick, Chuck. So
Yes, my brother has many admirable qualities. In some ways, I can say I admire him.
Too cold.
I love my brother. But Ted Kaczynski's brother loved him too, and he wanted to help. That's sanctimonious. I love my brother. He's a good person. He has good in him. But the law is too important. You right there, Howard?
So
the law is too important.
He's so self-righteous. He's just sitting there practicing, making sure he says the right thing, which I guess is all right. But ultimately, he's not. No one's helping him. No one's prepping him himself. He's not doing it with anybody. He's just counting on himself. When ultimately, Howard's right. He should have stayed out of this situation. His own ego probed him to be that he needs to be the person, the justice warrior that brings Jimmy down for the fucking person he is and the way he's fucking with the law. Fuck you, Chuck. Fuck you. Who are you? What's more important in that situation? Jimmy just being a friendly conman in the sense of the way you say that he's just a nice guy. There's no harm in what he does. He does things for good reasons. You, because of your fucking assholeness and the way you backstabbed him and you're his brother, you drove him to the point where he's in fucking Wyoming working in a Cinnabon. Because of you, he became Saul Goodman. If it wasn't for you, Jimmy probably would have just been like a slippin' Jimmy, good lawyer that worked with old people and felt comfortable, kind of played scams here and there. If his brother had just given him fucking love instead of constantly trying to fucking undermine him at every single point in time and teach him a lesson about justice and think that he's causing some big fucking ruckus of hell. Like, fuck you, Chuck. You caused all of this because you're a prick-faced cuckahead with Dookie inside your blubbity blues. Yeah, I said it. 2 tears in a bucket. Fuck it. Thank you, Iron. Let's test this shit out. Yeah, when they played the tape, I was about to play the tape, but Kim asked what they're doing. Then they go over to Chuck practicing his testimony. Then we get the tape in 16 where everyone is tears.
You'd go to such lengths to humiliate me.
I did it for Kim. She worked her butt.
The judge's look at Jimmy in this scene is just such disdain.
Hamlin, McGill, more like Scrooge and Marley.
Scrooge and I love that.
Deserves Mesa Verde, not you, not HHM. She earned it, and she needs it. I did it to help her.
Exactly right. Chuck even says Jimmy does stuff for good reasons.
So bad. I thought you'd just say, "Oh crap, I made a mistake."
So we've all heard that, and the judge and everyone, it shuts the court. It's almost everyone's in a hush after it happens. So after the tape, they're preparing the room for Chuck, but the vibe is crazy because of everything that happened. Jimmy keeps his phone in his pocket. Like, it's obvious he keeps his phone in his pocket. And the lights go off, and the clock gets taken down as Chuck enters the building. It's a really fucking... It's a crazy scene, dude. Dude, that scene is fucking crazy. AJ Gonzalez, I don't know why Chuck hates him so much. I don't understand it either. Essentially, I mean, I have 2 half sisters that I didn't grow up with, that are just happen to be my half sisters. I have cousins that are older, that are like 4 brothers and shit, and they were all kind of went through school ahead of me. They all kind of think of me more in the way of, and I think it's safe to say that all 4 of them, in some sense, think of me as a little brother or uncles or whatever. They take a sense of ownership or care for my well-being and shit. But I never so I don't understand this vibe. I do know from some people that have brothers or sisters that this is somewhat of a real normal thing. I wouldn't say it normal. Normal's a bad word for it. But older brothers or younger brothers, there's some issues here. But I think a lot of it comes down to what Jimmy was saying. All of that is true. There's a sibling rivalry of some sort. Chuck thinks that his mother loved Jimmy more, even though Jimmy was a thief, and that he caught him, and they would never believe him, that Jimmy was so bad, and he knew it, and he knew it, and he knew it. And no matter how hard Chuck did, no matter how much he succeeded, they never gave him the love that he deserved, and they just kept loving Jimmy. But no matter what you gave Chuck, it would never be enough. Because he's just one of those guys that, yeah, they probably did give Chuck a love, but he corrected them about what love should be. Love is just a inaccuracy made by Hallmark on a scientific notation. By you guys giving me this love, it's just showing your manipulative and ignorant neuropathy for the human condition. You know, Chuck probably demeaned his parents and made it so that they couldn't give him the kind of love. Because it's like a self-fulfilling bullshit there where he just over-intellectualizes everything. Sorry for the tripped out psychobabble there. But it's a very good question, AJ. So after the tape, they're preparing the room for Chuck. It's just crazy. So we get a great building visual as someone bumps into Chuck as he's walking in, and this I'll read my notes exactly. Great building visual as Chuck arrives. ... Someone bumps into him. ... And who was that? Wait. ... Huel! Capital letters, question mark, question mark, question mark. Fucking Huel. Fucking hell. So, I was very, 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 very excited at this point in time. And the last half of this sentence is all in capital letters. Timo! I'm back, so our work isn't being cooperative with your enjoyment of the live motherfucking stream. But more importantly, at least you got to watch the episode. Because the stream can always be watched at a later date. But it's always a better stream when we have Timo in the fucking house. Hashtag fuck siblings. So back in, and here we go. This is when I'm going to shut up, eat a sandwich, and relax, and listen to Chuck. Ooh, I whistled when I wish I could do that on command. The whistle while I... Oh, I did it! Fuck all, I did it. Ooh. Uh-oh. Here we go. Here we go. Motherfucker. Before we get into all of that, he may be listening right now. One of my favorites. My fucking friend. And yours. Here he is. For a fucking... good long voicemail for you. The big fucking motherfucking J.
Phil, big fucking J here. Sorry I missed you last week, pal.
Oh, good, brother.
Some shit to do. Yeah, I thought that Mike switched the tape when he went to the house. Could you tell me, if you get this voicemail, could you tell me what the fuck Mike was doing there last week? I thought he was there to switch the tape, or was it just to fuck with him? Like, was there a purpose? Maybe I'm missing something.
Oh, why he went to Chuck's house. He went to Chuck's house to, one, take the picture, two, get Rebecca's information from the address so he could call her to fuck with Chuck. So he went there for two purposes. One, to take all those pictures that Saul has to say, look how fucking fucked up Mike is. I mean, not Mike. Excuse me. Look how messed up Chuck lives. Look at the kind of thing, the way he lives. Look at these pictures. And he also went there so he could get the address out of the address book and he could contact Rebecca to get her there to put him even more on tilt. So that's why I hired Mike to put him in that situation.
I really enjoyed the show tonight. I like that courtroom shit, you know. I always enjoyed that, like A Few Good Men. Great fucking acting, man.
And before I get to this point in my notes, Big J, this is why you and me are fucking buddies here, because you're a fucking 1,000% right that I was thinking about Few Good Men too. I almost want to say, and I can't wait to listen to the podcast with all of them, that they were thinking about A Few Good Men the way they were doing this, and the way Chuck, especially when Chuck confronts Jimmy after the first tackle, it's very much like the way Jack Nicholson confronts Tom Cruise in A Few Good Men. Like, okay, are you done with me? Is this the best you got? Is this the best you fucking got? Caffey? That was his name. It took me a second. His name's Caffey. Is it the best you got, Caffey?
Looking forward to some Hector next week and the other guy there. Hector and you know, the Breaking Bad shit with Mike, you know. But it was great just watching. I want them to wrap this shit up though with this fucking Chuck already, man. Let this fucker die already or something. Or go where he's gotta go, you know. But I think you called it. You said that Rebecca was going to show up at the courtroom. I think you guys called that. So, all right, just let me know if I missed something. Why Mike went to the house? I thought that Mike switched the tape. And what was the bingo? Did we get the bingo yet? Was that Rebecca? All right, let me know. Enjoying your show. Take care, brother.
Love you, Big J. Thank you so much for the voicemail and lots of great stuff from Big J. Hope all is well, my friend. And right, did Mike take the pictures of the court for or for Rebecca? Both. I think he was there for two purposes. He was there for both situations. Oh wow, I'm whistling all over the place tonight. I'm a whistling mess tonight, motherfuckers. Let's put the live chat on the screen too. While I have my while Bernard's thinking about the technical difficulties. So, and let's get back in here with Chuck on the stand in the house. Let me get Chuck on here because this is some of the stuff I want to play all this as we're wrapping towards the end of the episode. So here we go. Chuck is finally on the stand, and guess what?
The truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
So actually, I can kind of zip through this a little bit. Why make the tape? Why tamper with the docs? Chuck's just smug. He's just smug through this whole fucking thing.
Could you state your name? Charles L. McGill. I'm a senior partner at the law firm of Hamlin McGill. Can the court reporter hear me?
Yes, sir. I can hear you fine.
Mr. McGill, I'll try.
Okay, I'm stopping it right there. Can the whole court reporter hear me? Yeah, we can hear you, Chuck. You egocentric pile of shit. Can the court reporter hear me? That's what I'm saying. He can't stop himself from going one more fucking step. Jesus, mother goddamn Christ, Chuck. Shut the fuck up, Chuck.
We don't need to dwell on the burglary or the assault that you suffered.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
What I would like to hear about is this tape. What compelled you to make it?
I had a suspicion my brother had tampered with documents in a case I was working on.
Now, why would he do that? Doesn't sound particularly brotherly.
I believe it was his
Chuck.
hope that the tainted documents would cause the client to become disillusioned with my representation and return to their previous attorney, Ms. Wexler, which I should note is precisely what happened.
Objection.
I'm not saying Ms. Wexler knew what Jimmy was doing or had any involvement. I'm only stating that it happened.
Did you have any evidence to support your suspicions about James?
No.
Timo says, I hated how I felt something for Chuck in these scenes. I feel like I need a shower or something to hate this. So we ultimately get into...
My brother, whatever else can be said of him, can be quite clever. Did an excellent job of covering
Do you
his
hate
tracks.
your brother?
Objection. The witness has it.
No, I don't hate my brother.
Might I have a moment to get a breath?
Oh, of course, Mr. McGill.
Might I have a moment to get a breath?
So through all of this, eventually, here we go. It's time. Rebecca walks in, and he needs a breath. He's on tilt. Take 15 minutes. They come over. They talk to Chuck. Good to see you. She's concerned about his sickness. Jimmy's worried about you. You've been sick, allergic to electricity and stuff. And he's just like, you don't get it. Jimmy brought you here. It's some shady shit. It's some shady shit, and you're part of a good. You're just part of a scheme. And I must.
Of course, Mr. McGill. Folks, let's call this 15. Everybody, please be.
This scene coming up here is where I feel for Chuck, because he knows something's up, and it's gonna be inevitable. He doesn't know who he's fucking with. Jimmy said it to him. You don't know who you're messing with. You shouldn't have picked this fight, Chuck. Jimmy was on your side. You want someone like Jimmy on your side.
Did Jimmy subpoena you? You're not on the witness list. You don't have to testify.
No, I'm not here for that.
Well, what then?
Chuck, I wish you told me. I can't believe what you've been going through. How long has it been?
You're here to help.
And the whole time he's defensive in this situation, and he just like, it's all Jimmy. It's all Jimmy. It's all Jimmy's. Already going in Jimmy's direction right here. Jimmy's getting him on tilt, getting him focused on just that, getting angry and angry just that Rebecca's there, not even listening to what she's saying, that she's concerned, that he could maybe use this as bringing someone else back into his life. But no, he can't get past his own ego and his own anger, which just like him using Jimmy's emotion against him, that's what he's using against Chuck here. It's brilliant. It's brilliant. It's eye for an eye kind of shit. It's you want to play my game? You want to fuck with me? I'm going to fucking fuck with you. And I know your buttons too. It's like when you fight with, it's why it sucks to fight with someone you're really, really close to, like a best friend or your lover or something like that, because they know your buttons. And you don't want to pick a fight with someone like this because you've constantly been undermining Jimmy from day one. He knows all this shit about you. So you've hurt him more than he can ever be hurt, but he's always worked with kid gloves with you. He's bringing the pain here, and you just don't even comprehend that you might have a problem with it. And that's where you get into what Timo was saying during the episode of this part too. I just felt a twinge of empathy for Chuck. Having a rare disease disorder, I understood what he was just saying. Damn you, Vince and team. I don't want to have empathy for this cunt. Don't. And let's go to Timo in the live chat, live in person right now, saying, people like Chuck are the reason why lawyers are lying assholes stereotype exists. No correction for what I said before. He's a freaking smug, hypocritical piece of shit. Oh, fucking Tebow. Okay, so not what I expect, not her. She's gonna hate you when this is all over. We have a scene with Kim and Jimmy getting ready for the courtroom where she just says to Jimmy, listen, Rebecca's gonna hate you when this is all over. You do realize that? And Jimmy's like, yep, I don't care. And he just walks off. I wrote in capital letters, full Saul. That was just such a Saul thing. Like, I don't care. So what the fuck? So now let's get into the end here. Time for Kim to cross-examine Chuck. But I said, nope, it's going to be Jimmy. And oh, fuck, this is really going to happen. And here we go.
Turn cross-examination over to my co-counsel, James McGill.
Chuck needs to be taken down, says Rag. Who knows, maybe this whole thing will lead to Chuck becoming a better person. Who am I kidding? Chuck's going to even go even more nuts.
About this tape you made.
We lost the opportunity when you burglarized my house to destroy it.
Fair enough. And I was in the...
Chuck this whole time, right from the beginning, goes, Jimmy's not going to get one up on me. I have him. What could he say? I'm in my home court. My team. We're up fucking 40 points. Whatever. At home. These people all support me. These judges or lawyer, judge appointee people, thingamahoochers, all support me. What the fuck are you gonna do, Jimmy? Come fuck with me, right? Fuck with me. Go ahead. It's just whatever. And yeah.
But still, I'd like to try and follow your story of why and how you recorded it.
Oh, is this where you claim the tape is spurious? That it's not really your voice?
Yep, that's what I'm going to do. And Big J said this earlier, and I'm going to say this, and I'm going to say the same fucking thing again. I think this was very, very much like A Few Good Men. No, not even two ways about it. It felt extremely like the scene in A Few Good Men, and that's definitely not a problem. I fucking love that. I love that's how it feels. Whoa, what's going on? Are we being taken over by technical difficulties? Shit, what's fucking going on here? Can someone explain? Sam N in the live chat. Great to see you, Sam N. Welcome. I haven't seen your name before. Fucking welcome to the live chat and the Better Call Saul recap as I open back up my page. Open up. Can someone explain how all the tape minutia and bingo quote from last week fits into this strategy here, or is there more to come? I think the bingo quote is weird to me. That I don't know, and that's what. And I think I maybe didn't answer that correctly when Jay said that too. What Kim was trying to set up with Chuck when she went there, and they said bingo. I'm not sure what all of that's all about. I think it's more to come later, probably with that more setup for the tape, or just more ways of showing Chuck being unprofessional about it and not giving them the tape or something maybe. But that's a good question. What the bingo was. I wish I had a better answer for you, Sam. But that's a good point. I think Big J was asking a similar question, and I kind of talked around it and gave a separate answer, but for a different part of that question. But good question, Sam, and welcome. Chuck, you are one cocky son of a bitch. Timo says, if Chuck was as smart as he thinks he is, he would have seen this little act Jimmy had during the cross-examination. But his smugness clouds his common sense. It sounds like something Yoda would say. Common sense? Smugness causes. It does. Some shit like that. And I'm green with hairs? Yep. But I don't know if anyone in the live chat or in the comment section watching this video later has a better answer for that. And I'll read Sam's question in full. Can someone explain how all the tape minutia and bingo quote from last week fits into their strategy here? Or is there more to come? I'm guessing there's more to come with that. And I'm not sure exactly. Oh, I think with what it was called specifically, that comes back where the item that was destroyed, whatever. Kim makes a call back to that at some point on the earlier point, but what her bingo is, I'm still not exactly sure about that. AJ says, yeah, there's something personal there because Chuck has a well-established career, but whatever he has against Jimmy, he let it go, or else why would Chuck care?
That's me on the tape. But still, I have some questions. Like the recorder, it must have hurt like hell for you to touch that.
There was a degree of discomfort, that's true.
And where did you hide it? I mean, the sound's pretty clear, so it wasn't in the couch cushions, was it?
Yeah, it shows Ren. That's a good answer. Yoda Phil. Hey, hell yeah. That's my favorite type of Yoda. Issues I have. I don't know how it goes. You punch me in the face, I smell all my ho. Ho ho ho. I'm not Santa, it seems. This isn't even Yoda, it's just some poetic obscene. I'm coughing, it seems. Because I ran out of words. Of oxygen dreams. But the coffee shows premeditation. Excellent point, Ren. Excellent stuff. Okay, so let's continue here.
Under a space blanket, out of sight.
Wow. So there's no chance I would see it. Not with the state your place was in, isn't that right?
I suppose.
Would you like to set the scene for the disciplinary committee? Tell them, what your house looked like at the time of the recording.
Objection. Relevance?
Well, the circumstances of the recording are materially relevant. How can you know what the tape really means unless you know what was going on when it was recorded?
Now that's Kim's words coming from Jimmy's mouth. Coming all out Jimmy's mouth. And it's even more effective in that situation because as good as Kim is, Saul Goodman's litigation ability is like next level in Jimmy's litigation ability. He just has a way with words and people.
For rules, the witness could answer the question.
I covered most of the walls with foil scrim craft insulation. I also hung a number of space blankets. Compact mylar sheets. They insulate and protect against mild electromagnetic radiation.
Okay, already I'm like cuckoo kanuku here. Which is cool. I mean, go for it, Chuck. Pedo creepy Santa. Ho. Ho, ho. Literally, probably within a year. Oh, wait, let me turn that shit down. Literally, probably within a year, all of this is going to be white like this. A year or two. So I'm going to look like and sound like the creepiest Santa. When we're talking about Game of Thrones spin-off series a couple of years from now, these podcasts are going to be like issues program with creepy Santa Claus. And my goal is to get really big as I get older too. Why not? What the fuck? I want to eat a lot. So I'm just gonna try to get to look like Santa Claus, and I think my podcast will be a lot more successful. We can finally, really go to the next level when it's like I'll dress like Santa when I do on the podcast. It's happening, motherfuckers. called creepy Santa issues and stuff. Make a separate channel. Anyways, so yeah, let's continue.
All right, so shiny insulation and space blankets all over the walls and the ceiling. It was like being inside of a disco ball.
Do you have a point?
Well, I'm impressed by how much work went into entrapping me. You went all out.
The tape thing is weird, says Joseph. I still think it's going to be challenged somehow, maybe after the fact that Chuck was exposed as nuts. Kim putting them on notice last week tracks with the language from one of the rules of evidence. Great stuff, Joseph.
I didn't entrap you. I provoked an admission in adverse interest. That's not the same thing.
So when we have Uncle Phil's casting couch, will you have people sit in your lap instead? I should show you some pictures. I actually in college used to play Santa, and I definitely was a little creepy. Well, I mean, just with the girls, not with the kids. With the kids, I was very on the level, but with the girls, I was like, come here, my little elf. Chuck is cuckoo, kanuku. The Uncle Phil's casting couch after hours shows are going to be even weirder when I look like Santa Claus. Thank you, everybody. I needed this tonight. You guys are all freaking amazing. And as always, thank you for keeping me company to talk about these shows that we love. It's no more fun than I have than getting to talk to you guys about crazy television and random stories about lots of fun. Okay, so let's continue here and finish off this episode.
No, it would work.
What do you mean?
How did you know your provocation would work? Why'd you think a bunch of shiny plastic would make me say anything? Isn't it because you knew that it was...
Okay, so I mean, I could play every single second of this, and this is
precisely the thing that would worry me so much that I'd say anything to talk you down.
Objection.
Great stuff going back and forth, and it's seemingly they give him some leeway to come at him about his sickness.
As I've said, I was playing up my condition.
I just want to play a little bit of this and listen to it.
You think your house is normal? Can I call your attention to exhibit...
Will Chuck die? I think it's going to end up worse for him. Almost, I don't want to spoil it for people that haven't seen it, but just to say it, almost like the way Junior Soprano's storyline ends for him on The Sopranos. I see something like that happening to Chuck.
There's a lantern.
Worse.
On top of newspapers.
Yep.
You call this normal?
I call them adaptations. A prophylactic measure for a physical medical condition.
Did the
what's that have to do with the lantern on newspapers? That's a fire hazard, Chuck.
Granted me guardianship for you.
I hope he doesn't die. It's too simple too. Like that's what I think, Rag. Death is too simple for Chuck. It's gonna be worse than that. He's gonna end up in his ultimate nightmare if he keeps this shit up. Just like Jimmy. Ultimately, Gene, or I call him Cinnabon Saul. I know his name's Gene in that timeline, but just like Gene, he's going to end up in the same situation, and it's all Chuck's fault. Chuck destroyed their family. It's as simple as that. Jimmy called him out on it, and it's fucking true. He destroyed their family, and both of them are going to live in their ultimate hell because of it. Jimmy as a schlub working at a Cinnabon, and Chuck in a freaking institute studied with those freaking crazy like school fluorescent lights everywhere. Couldn't think of the word fluorescent for some reason. And just living in a fucking his ultimate hell. Too obvious to die, says Rag. Yeah, and Ren says, yeah, and the why the three judges look at Chuck during the description of how bad he is, how bad off he is. He's surprised. Totally. Like it's amazing how the judges all turn around on this whole situation and how they look at Chuck. how they're all after the tape, all looking at Jimmy with this horrified look. Small part by them, but just even their reaction as for everything, and everyone in the courtroom's reaction to everything that was going on was really perfect in setting the scene. That's what reminded me of almost Game of Thrones-y in the sense with like Tyrion's speech. Just everyone's reaction added to the intensity of what was going on. I think Hank will make a cameo sooner or later. I almost thought he'd make a cameo a couple of episodes ago, but I agree. I think Hank cameo could be very natural and organic through the Mike and the Gus and the Hector storyline. It wouldn't even have to be hard. And that's why I say the Emilio, we know who Emilio is. And I think the Jesse cameo ultimately, minus the fact that Aaron Paul's going to look much older, but the character of Jesse coming in would be very natural too. Walt would feel unnatural, I think. As much as I want to see Bryan Cranston back in the Breaking Bad universe, unless it's a quick cameo like Saul goes to the fucking the car wash and Walt's working there. But I think that would be cheap. But the Jesse thing, Jesse would make sense. There's so many different cool ways they could bring Jesse in because Jesse knows who Saul is beforehand, and his buddy got off from Saul a bunch of times. So the fact that Jesse would know about him or be in a room or meet a friend who had just met with him or something like that. One of his dudes in his band. We know Jesse's in a band around this time and playing drums, like in a club where Jesse's playing drums in a band or something. Like the Aaron Paul cameo is coming, and I think it's going to be awesome and make sense. Sam says, thanks for the answers, and I'm sure to be surprised in the future, even if it all makes sense in my head right now. And that's the way they make shows. That's what's the beauty of Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad. As much as you think you know what's going to happen, it's like, oh, yeah. Like, that's cool. I mean, even when I knew it was going to be Rebecca, they didn't use Rebecca in the same exact way that I thought they were going to use her. But still freaking awesome. I'd love to be in that room. Having those conversations. I agree too, Rag. I think it will last the same amount of time as Breaking Bad. I think it will last 5 seasons. I think that's their number. I don't think next season will be its last. I think we'll get next season and then maybe a shortened season, season 4, or I don't know. I'm very curious about that. There's talk about that. They talk about that in that podcast. Not necessarily about an endpoint, but about not wanting to go too far. Not wanting to... Or by go too far, not wanting to go too far with the program to where it doesn't feel like it's relevant or it needs to happen. They're very conscious of that. And very conscious of being like, yeah, we can't do too much of this. There has to be an end point. And I feel like I say this every week. They're going to know the right time to end, and they're going to do it. They have even more control now than they did with Breaking Bad. And they ended Breaking Bad a half a season longer than they wanted to. They're not going to make the same mistake with Better Call Saul. They're close to making, fuck it. I'll say it. They're close. If they end this thing right, and I'm trying to think of the correct way to end this. It's going to be a hard series to end, but they're close to making a perfect series here. And if they end at the right time and leave this off where it should end logically, and then maybe that's 5 seasons, maybe it's 4. I don't think it's more than that. I think 5 at the most. It could end next year if it keeps up this pace. I don't know. Some part of me is starting to think it's going to end after season 4. Because they're going to want it to end 1 season earlier than Breaking Bad. But we shall see. Let's listen to more of this. No. So let's listen to this final situation. We lead into it. There's so much more of this.
A physical condition.
Objection.
I have
You
9
can't
minutes
introduce
of this
the
shit.
TEG as evidence. Besides which, the panel has already ruled that Mr. McGill's mental health...
What was the point of Jimmy having the phone with no battery? To trick Chuck and make him look stupid. To make him to prove that what he was feeling wasn't real and it was all in his head. Because in that situation, if Chuck was to think that I felt like I didn't have a battery and focusing all on that, all of his attention was distracted and kind of focused on, oh, I know what's going on. I know what's going on. Through that whole situation, through that whole big dog and pony show that was going on, through all of that, the whole time, there was a battery in his pocket that he never felt. So it was almost as a distraction. It was kind of a play tactic to kind of set him off and make him feel even more self-righteous for a breakdown to lead to that point at the end when he would explode. It's knowing his brother's triggers and knowing how to get to that point where he would just rant at the end and go into a Joe rant, a Chuck rant at the end there and freak out. So I think that was the point of it, to keep the phone, to kind of set up Chuck so Chuck would be like, haha, I knew, to make a big deal and be like, I knew that there was no battery in this phone, because of course he would say that when he opened up the back of the phone and said, look, there's no battery. Of course I knew this. Oh, you knew that, Chuck. Oh, you knew that. You're so confident about that. You're so confident you knew there was no battery in there, right? You know where the battery is at all times, right? Yep. You're great, huh? But guess what? Guess what, bitch? The battery's in your pocket and you didn't know the whole time. Awesome. Fucking awesome. Breaking Bad lasted the perfect amount of time. I agree. Some people don't like the first half of season 5. I've heard some people complain about that. Joe's one of them. I think Joe's full of shit. It's fucking Breaking Bad. I love every single minute of it. Every single episode. There's some episodes I like more than others. Season 1 is probably my least favorite season. I know that's freaking blasphemy because most shows, season 1's their favorite. I feel like season 1's slower than the rest of the series, not in the best way. I feel like they're kind of getting their legs with it in some ways. And Walt being sick in the first half really fucks with my cabeza in some ways. I think another way to show Chuck's hatred for Jimmy, he had to talk shit about Jimmy as he deconstructed the phone because he's Chuck. Yvonne says, you know how we all get a small part of Jimmy's future, i.e. Cinnabon's store. Do you think the last episode will focus on that, perhaps the end for Jimmy's death? I think the last end of this series will end in the future. I think through everything else, the final scenes that we will have in the Better Call Saul Breaking Bad universe will be in the future. Will be in Cinnabon land. And maybe it'll be Jimmy dying. Maybe it'll be Jimmy facing his shit. Either death or back to Jimmy living a mundane life that he had at Davison, Maine, something like that. Joseph says, the fact that Jimmy had a witness in the plant the battery on Chuck himself, though dramatically effective, would have probably gotten Jimmy in serious trouble himself. Yeah, he definitely crossed a line with that, but it was worth it. I think he was like, I'll take that bullet just to devalue Chuck, because if I'm going down, I'm going to blow his ass up too. Yeah, but I like the story focusing mostly around Saul, Mike, and Gus. I think that's where this story is going to go ultimately. We're going to lead into a storyline that focuses centrally around them, focuses around how Hector goes into the wheelchair. Is Hector in the wheelchair by the end of this season? It's a question I have for the live chat. Anyone listening, do you think that Hector is in the wheelchair by the end of the season? Well, Joe doesn't like Westworld, so we got to take his opinion with a grain of salt. AJ says, think Walt coming would be too much. Maybe Jesse will be fine, but not too much of him. I agree. I think Jesse would be a small cameo, maybe at the level of a Tuco, but maybe even a little bit less. I think Walt would be too much unless it's in the car wash. But even that, I think Walt would be too much. But I don't know. I think if they found the right point for him, they can make it work. And shut the fuck up, Phil. So let's continue here.
Not at issue.
No, the state bar opened the door to this on direct when the witness talked about his supposed play acting. Allowing me to follow up on cross is only reasonable.
We discussed a physical allergy, not a mental disability.
Potato, it comes down to this.
Jimmy is so good. And again, I've said this like 10 times. I'll say it again, especially having someone like Kim in his back pocket right here. It gives credibility to the way he's doing his ranting. Whereas in some situations, Saul Goodman, there's no credibility to what he's saying. He's just kind of bullshitting for bullshit's sake. Right here, he's bullshitting with facts.
In order to understand what I was thinking, you need to see Chuck through my eyes. You need to know if I believe that tape was evidence. And I say it was evidence of only one thing. My brother hates me. Now, he claims that he lied to me to get me to tell the truth. And I'm telling you, I lied to my brother.
Hector's really awesome. I was watching him on Oz because I'm doing an Oz rewatch for an Oz review. And the dude hasn't aged much since Oz, which was like in 1996 or something. Whatever the fuck it was. Fucking playing an Italian gangster in Oz. He's such a great actor. Such a great freaking actor.
Make him feel better. Which of us you believe?
Was Hamlin aware that Chuck was crazy, or did he think his condition was real? I think it's a combination of both. I think Hamlin has an affinity for him, so he hero worships him to a certain extent, so he doesn't quite have a clear vision of what Chuck does, and just establishes that Chuck has all these abilities and talents, so how fucked up can he be? I think earlier in this episode, we see Hamlin being aware of knowing that Chuck might not get the best of this situation, but he just doesn't quite have the balls and the spine to offer much resistance to Chuck. But I think he did know. I wouldn't say he was prophetic about understanding that this was going to happen this way, but I think he got bad mojo about this. He knew Chuck was putting himself out there a little bit too much and probably should have hid. And if he had more balls and more backbone, he probably should have just said, Chuck, you don't need to be here. There's no need for you to be here. Go home. But could he control Chuck's ego? No. Not at all. Not even a little bit. We got a text message from Big J that says, thanks for clearing that shit up for me. One other thing, I'm surprised that the judges or whatever the fuck they were let that shit fly with the planting the battery on Chuck. What the fuck? What's your take on that? I think a little bit of that was television. A little bit of that was, I'll let it go. I'll let it go. And I think a lot of that might even just be thrown out of the official record. I think similar to a lawyer that just wants something to be said, but wants the jury to hear it, but it gets thrown out of court. I think Jimmy didn't care that the judges ultimately will probably just be like, yeah, Jimmy, all that relevant, but here's your suspension. You still fucked up. Here's your suspension. But it proves that Jimmy is that Chuck is crazy and that all that sort of stuff. So they're still going to punish Jimmy, but they probably won't punish him quite as hard now that it shows that Chuck's all fucked up, even though all that stuff won't really be on the record anywhere. So I agree. I'm kind of surprised that they let that fly as much too. I felt a little TV where it's like, I gave you some credibility. There was a little hinky television-ness there in the mix a little bit. And Howard has no backbone, says Timo. But so that's kind of where I'm at with that. I think there's a little bit of hinkiness in there. So I definitely agree that they might not have let that fly. Sorry, everybody. I can't believe I'm doing this. I can't believe I'm really fucking doing this. Let me play a little bit,
We all understand the mind of Charles McGill.
We did promise the defense some leeway. You may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
But watch yourself.
Chuck, I'd like to go back a little further, talk about when these symptoms first started. It was shortly after you were divorced, is that right?
Yes.
You think the stress of the divorce brought on the illness?
I doubt it. It was an amicable split. My ex-wife and I are still on good terms.
In fact, your ex-wife is present with us today, is she not? When was the last time you two saw each other?
Objection. This is not family court. We're not here to relitigate the witness's divorce. I can't see what purpose this serves.
I can. I'll tell you why my brother brought my ex-wife to this hearing.
Sorry about that. My old radio show. Anyone that happened to listen to my old radio show, and a couple people do listen to the podcast, know that animal crackers are a big part of that podcast. There's nothing quite like eating animal crackers while fucking podcasting.
4,000 miles she came, lured by concern for me. What Jimmy's driving at is the last time I saw her, I covered up my illness. I've been suffering from it for some time, but I went to great lengths to conceal that fact from her. I'm sorry I deceived you, Rebecca. I didn't want you to think less of me. Now Jimmy has outed me in front of you. You know why? To rattle me.
You guys in the live chat
He
cracking
knows
me
I
up.
still have a lot of feeling for my ex-wife. He's hoping this will break me down.
I just want to listen to all of this again. I'm getting wrapped up in it a little bit. Michael McKean's just so fucking good. Even just listening to the dialogue.
Split me apart at the seams like a murderer confessing on an episode.
And animal crackers and beer go together better than you might think.
Mason. Well, I'm sorry to disappoint you, Jimmy. Have I answered your questions to your satisfaction? Do you have anything else?
Right there. Do you have anything else? That's so A Few Good Men right here. Do you have anything else, Kathy? Thanks. Thanks for the free trip, Kathy.
Yeah, I do. Earlier you talked about other diseases, physical conditions you said. Okay, if you'd had, I don't know, lung cancer, would you have told Rebecca then?
If that had been the case, maybe I might have.
So how is this different?
Mr. McGill, move it along.
You don't have to answer that. I want to...
Sorry, I'm trying to turn the microphone down while I'm chewing. I hope you guys didn't hear too much chewing there. There's nothing worse than watching a podcast and hearing. So I was trying to lower the microphone while I was chewing there.
The brass tacks. I want to be very, very specific.
Mine
with
too,
this
Timo.
illness.
They're
What does it
definitely one of my
feel like?
weaknesses.
You mentioned it's painful.
It is. There's a tightness in my chest, difficulty breathing, and pain. Burning pain.
Yeah, Timo, I'm willing to bet, and I'm going to say this to everyone that's listening right now. I'm expecting don't eat on camera. That's fucking disgusting, you fucking pig. So I tried to turn down the audio so you didn't hear the crunching. But fucking give me a break. Give me a fucking break.
Pain spreads everywhere.
Sounds horrible. Does it hurt right now?
There's always some discomfort, yes. Electricity is everywhere in the modern world. But I very much appreciate the indulgence of the panel.
But yeah, and it keeps going here. And I mean, again, I'm almost playing all of this, and I almost don't want to not play a second of it, but it goes on and on a little bit, and Jimmy kind of just keeps setting him up, till eventually gets to this point.
I'd like to turn cross-examination over to my co-counsel.
I am not crazy. I know he swapped those numbers. I knew it was 1216. One after Magna Carta, as if I could ever make such a mistake. Never. Never. I just couldn't prove it. He covered his tracks. He got that idiot at the copy shop to lie for him.
Mr. McGill, please, you don't have to go.
You think this is something? You think this is bad? This
Phil, you disgusting fucking pig. Are you established enough in the YouTube community to eat on camera and deserving of a break? What the fuck, you dirty pig? BJ. You're not deserving enough of a break. Only people with 100,000 subscribers and more can eat on camera. Your petty 10,000 can't fucking do shit. Please subscribe to my channel so I can eat on camera. I need to get bigger so I'm allowed to eat animal crackers on camera. You tell the haters, Timo said, fuck you, get some animal crackers in your life, and maybe you'll feel better. Just stopped in to see your reaction to that breathtaking ending. Incredible, BJ. I'm so overwhelmed by the performance of Michael McKean in this episode and Bob Odenkirk going back and forth. The show gave us exactly what we wanted. Wow. What a fucking ending. I am losing my fucking mind even just talking about this episode, to the point where I had to eat animal crackers and I need to get a sugar rush and I'm mixing it with beer and it's disgustingly amazing and I love it. And I'm toasting to you guys for joining me on this Monday evening to talk about Better Call Saul. Fuck. And no one else is home in my house, so I'm being loud as fuck. 50,000 subs. I know you're just playing. It's all good. It's all good. Keep fucking with me. Not 100,000, 50,000, and I'm allowed to eat it. Thank you. Okay, that's the number. Please subscribe, everybody. Please, if you haven't already and you're watching right now and you like what you see, or even if you don't like what you see and you hate what you see, especially if you hate what you see. Not if you're just like, meh, I don't give a shit about this. But if you hate it, subscribe too. I want haters too. If you watch the videos and share it and be like, doesn't this guy suck? And share it. As long as you're sharing and spreading the word and trying to get helping us get new subscribers. I don't care if you hate me or not. Even if it's like, fuck this guy. Troll this asshole. He sucks. I'm all for it. Just it's a numbers game, man. Come on. Oh, fuck. Okay, so Timo says, I'm triggered by animal cracker hate. Come on. Go to the machine at work. I know there's all these animal crackers in the machine. Timo says, and you tell the haters you've been doing live streams way before YouTube started their ad removal, so fuck them. Yeah, I should have a thing on the bottom of the screen. Doing podcasts since 2010. Name one movie where Bob Odenkirk would be a great fit for. Ooh, that's a good question, Yvonne. I mean, there's obviously any comedy movies, but like a big movie where Bob Odenkirk would be the lead star. It's very interesting to think. I'm going to answer that question later. Ask me that question again in a couple of weeks, because I have to think about that. I have to let that marinate. So let's listen to more Chuck freaking the fuck out.
He's done worse. That's Billboard. Are you telling me that a man just happens to fall like that? No, he orchestrated it. Jimmy. He defecated through a sunroof. And I saved him. I shouldn't have. I took him into my own firm. What was I thinking? He'll never change.
Do you know what's a movie I would think Bob Odenkirk would be in? I'd like to see Bob Odenkirk in the lead role of a Christopher Nolan movie. I know this sounds fucked up, so random, but I could just see him in sort of like a fucked up universe, backwards world kind of thing, or in a movie like a Groundhog's Day kind of thing. Like not a copy of it, but some sort of inspired by something similar, some sort of awfully world, repeating days kind of thing where he had to do things a lot of different ways and kind of went crazy because of the repetitive nature of a Lifetime thing. So I would like to see him work with Christopher Nolan on like a comedy thriller sort of kind of movie that was funny, but ultimately almost dark in a weird way, in the Christopher Nolan kind of way. Christopher Nolan. This fall, Christopher Nolan finally does comedy. And this time, Bob Odenkirk isn't going to take any shit. This whole world speaks with aphasia in a backward sense. But it's a dream. But it's inside Marlon Brando's ass. This fall, Bob Odenkirk inside Marlon Brando's ass. Directed by Christopher Nolan. Something like that. I would like to see Bob Odenkirk be, if they ever did another Spinal Tap movie, like Bob Odenkirk's their manager. But I would like to see him in something like serious. I hope when Better Call Saul's all done, Bob Odenkirk gets a lot of opportunities to show off his acting chops in bigger movies. Because I think obviously I'm a television guy. I say this a lot. Television is my medium. So I think what he's doing right now at the top of his game of this golden age of television is doing some of the best work he'll ever do. That being said, movies bring in a lot of attention and money and whatever, and I'd love to see him. Everything shifts and everything's circular. Eventually movies will be doing deep, dark movie stories again, like the movies in the 70s and the 90s were and stuff. Everything happens in cycles. Right now we're in this big budget stuff. I love these big budget superhero movies. Nothing against them, but if I'm wanting kind of like a deep, strange, twisted kind of tale, I'll watch a television series for it. But eventually that shit switches and something will happen again to make movies a little bit more experimental again. And they still exist. They're just independent movies and you kind of have to weed through some shit, but there's some good stuff out there. BJ says, knowing Jimmy had a plan and having to wait until the final minute to see it come to fruition was unbelievably satisfying. It really was. And I talked about this a lot at the beginning. This whole episode was a slow roll, but at a good, brisk pace of watching Chuck hang himself and watching Jimmy's plan come to fruition. And you knew it was going to happen the whole time from beginning to end. Like from the beginning of this episode, this was again like Better Call Saul. This is why this is one of the better episodes of best episodes of Better Call Saul, because within this one episode, it encompasses the whole series. You know where this is all going to go. You knew Jimmy was going to get the best of Chuck. Anyone who knows this series knew that. And everyone knew this was going to happen. And it was like watching it happen, like watching, spoiler alert for Game of Thrones, like watch Meryn Trent just walking around doing all this horrible shit. Like, you know where this is going to end. You know who's going to take his life at the end of all of this. And it's the same sort of thing. Like, you know Jimmy's going to fucking sneak up on him and go like spider monkey on this motherfucker's back. Sorry, I'm really excited about Game of Thrones. It's coming soon.
He'll never change. Ever since he was 9. Always the same. Couldn't keep his hands out of the cash drawer. But not our Jimmy. Couldn't be precious Jimmy. Stealing them blind. And he gets to be a lawyer? What a sick joke. I should have stopped him when I had the chance.
What the fuck, Michael McKean? I'm sorry, I'm rewinding that. What?
I am not crazy.
The fuck, Michael McKean? Again, give this man all the awards. Like, fuck all, dude. This is such a good monologue. Fuck all. The whole thing is good. Again, I didn't play like 3 minutes of the Chuck and Jimmy thing. I'm getting teary-eyed right now. Michael McKean is just so fucking amazing. I'm so happy that we get to get him on this fucking show right now and doing shit like this. This is seriously one of my favorite moments ever on television. This fucking freak out by Michael McKean. Like, I'm not even speaking, I've said it 3 or 4 times, I'm not speaking hyperbolically. This show is unfucking believable.
I know he swapped those numbers. I knew it was 1260.
Yeah, this episode is one of the definitions of satisfying. You look up satisfying in the dictionary, it's a picture of fucking this. There's a picture of this episode going like this. This is fucking incredible shit.
One after Magna Carta, as if I could ever make such a mistake. Never. Never. I just couldn't prove it. He covered his tracks. He got that idiot at the copy shop to lie for him.
Mr. McGill, please, you don't have to go.
You think this is something? You think this is bad? This chicanery? He's done worse. That's Billboard. Are you telling me that a man just happens to fall like that? No, he orchestrated it. Jimmy. He defecated through a sunroof.
Squat cobbler.
And I saved him. I shouldn't have. I took him into my...
Yeah, if this dude doesn't earn at least an Emmy nomination, I've dedicated my life to protesting those awards, says BJ. I am with you. Michael McKean, he just deserves... Look, he's one of those guys that I don't know him. You know, I don't know any of these people. I don't know what kind of people they are. But Michael McKean's been working in this industry a long time, and he's never gotten the respect as a performer that he's deserved. You know, and he's been in it a long time in this game. And I think this might be his best acting work he's ever done. And he deserves some sort of recognition. I don't think the awards mean dick when it really comes down to it. But, excuse me, but ultimately, he deserves that kind of respect. So, in the industry and everything like that. So, give the man his money. Give the man the award.
Own firm. What was I thinking? He'll never change. He'll never change. Ever since he was 9, always the same. Couldn't keep his hands out of the cash drawer. But not our Jimmy. Couldn't be precious Jimmy.
Yeah, Chicago Sunroof to be exact. Thank you, Rag.
Stealing them blind.
And right here when his voice starts breaking, stealing them blind, like those cracks in his voice and shit. Oh, fuck, dude.
Gets to be a lawyer.
Fuck you, Michael McKean. And you fucking sang the song Big Bottom, talk about bum cakes, my girl's got 'em. Big Bottom, talk about 'em, my mind, how can I say this behind? Big Bottom. Fucking, if you haven't already and you watch this show and you've never checked out Spinal Tap, seriously, shut my video off now and go watch This Is Spinal Tap and appreciate that is the same guy that's playing Chuck right now. And it's not because of age or anything like that. Spinal Tap toured in 2009 or 10 or something like that. So it's not like the band hasn't been around in a while. Like, just watch Michael McKean and watch all that shit. You'll enjoy yourself. I promise.
What a sick joke. I should have stopped him when I had the chance. And you have to stop him.
Right there, you have to stop him. It's just like, fuck, dude. This is just such a great moment. He just stops, pauses. The whole room is just silent, staring at him, knowing how much he fucked this up. He knows what he said.
I apologize.
He apologizes. Too late for that, Chuck. Too late for your apologies.
I lost my train of thought.
You lost your train of thought. You went fucking crazy. It doesn't affect your mind.
I got carried away.
You got carried away? You just made an ass of yourself in public hearing.
Do you have anything else?
The way they do this and the way it's from the audio, it's just not going to be as effective. But the way they did this, whoever shot this episode from a director of photography standpoint, I don't know the name, so I'm not going to be able to give credit, but fuck. Bob Schmickadoo or Zibbity Doo, Karen Hazahu or PD Poopy Doo, whatever your fucking name is that shot this episode or decided to do this or directed and decided to do that pan out on Chuck. Fuck, dude. Amazing. What the hell? That was some incredible filmmaking right there. The way it panned out, you just focused on Chuck right there, the close-up, and then back away. Hi, everybody. Thanks for listening to my podcast. Please share it with a friend. I really want to do this over and over again. It gets crazy. It is just crazy. I'm backing into the wheel of issues here. It's such a sick shot. In a sick pan away. You often in film or in character dramas and shit like that, and even in Breaking Bad in the way that they shoot things, you don't often make camera moves like that. And the way at that speed, it's usually slower. Though just the speed that they went out, it was just perfect. And you just felt so much like similar to just bathing in the empathy for Chuck. And it's just McKean's talent there that makes you feel bad for him. And not the same thing, but similar to like Heath Ledger playing the Joker. And I know I'm comparing Michael McKean as Chuck to Heath Ledger playing the Joker. I just mean when I watch Heath Ledger's Joker, I can't help but feel, even though there's some sense of animal there, I don't feel sorry for the Joker, but I can feel with the Joker because of the way the actor's playing the performance. Chuck's the same way in that moment. Like, I fucking hate Chuck. Chuck is a fucking cunt with a capital C. He really is. But in that moment, the way the shot sets up, the way the filmmaking goes, and McKean's performance, who's someone you just can't help but like or appreciate. It's like, again, the Joker with the fucking pencil scene. Oh, I want to see a magic trick. There's just something charming about him that you can't help but like. Chuck's the same way. McKean's the same way. There's something I just love about Michael McKean, and something I feel bad when you see him just... Any other questions? The world's just getting smaller. The world's about to get much smaller now, you fucking cunt. You fucking fucked over your brother. You fucked over family. You fucked over the one person that cared about you. And this shit's going down, Chuck. Fuck. What an ending. What a build-up. You thought this episode was good leading up to it. It's such a build-up. It's like climbing up a hill and then you climbing up a fucking mountain and jump into a big fucking pile of water. I'm like climbing up, I'm climbing up, I'm climbing up, I'm climbing up, I'm fucking standing up. I'm up, I'm fucking standing, my head's on the wall, and then I just jump. I'm back in my seat. It's beautiful, perfect. Fuck y'all. What an episode of Better Call Saul. This, again, was one of my favorite. Incredible ending. Huge, huge, huge. I needed this. It was huge. So that's the episode of Better Call Saul. Amazing. Still feel sorry for Chuck says Ragnar. BJ says, had the atmosphere as if he confessed for murder, and the music mixed in. Mega Moose. Cinematography on this series is on another level. And that's what I mean when maybe what was happening in Breaking Bad, I liked more. Walt and Jesse are my favorite characters in this universe, even though I do love Saul, I love Mike, I love Gus, I love everybody. Walt and Jesse are my favorite characters in this universe. Simple as that. And so Breaking Bad will always just, and the storyline of Breaking Bad is just so cutting. And it just will always be one of my favorite series. It'll be hard to top that. But Better Call Saul, the cinematography, the DPs, the writing, everything is tighter. It's so tight. What they're trying to accomplish on Better Call Saul, especially right now, they're at just another fucking level. And maybe I am in an echo chamber. Maybe I am just walking through. I'm so blinded by my love for these guys as creators that I'm not judging it completely naturally. But no, there's not everything's perfect. And I'm not opposed to criticism here and there, but just everything is just soaked with garlic, butter, or joy. Hello, Cleveland. Hello, Cleveland. It's like I look at this album and it's like we've got trousers. I believe virtually everything I read. McKean was brilliant. Even the guy who plays Hamlin was great watching his mentor melt. That was a little heartbreaking, but still fuck him. Ivan says, the day I said this series is on another level was the episode where Chuck mentions a monkey with a machine gun. That was a heck of an acting by Jimmy and Mike. Every scene that we've had with Jimmy and Chuck is incredible. And then fucking the Mike stuff, it just, even from the beginning with 5-0 and then all through season 2 episodes and everything now, the Mike stuff just adds even that other dynamic to this show and connects to the other universe. All those answers we wanted to know, or at least raising even more questions and adding even more elements to this universe and adding more and more entries to to the big giant book that is the Gilligan Breaking Bad Saul universe.